Hey y'all, welcome to the channel for Akati Grant Writing Services. My name is LaTwan and I'm the owner of Akati Grant Writing Services. And on this channel, I provide quick and free tips and resources for how to be successful in the grant writing process and how to add grant funding to your nonprofit's income strategy. In today's video, I'm quickly going to share with you guys 5 common questions that you will likely find on grant applications. So if you've never written a grant before, or if you are trying to get prepared to see, what you should be ready to answer on a grant application, this video is going to give you 5 questions that you should be prepared to answer. So the first question that you are likely to see on a grant application is, please provide a brief description or overview of your organization. So this is where you should be prepared to speak about the background or history of your organization, going into detail about your organization's mission statement, the history of your organization, how it came to existence, anything that is relevant that tells the story of where your organization began, what your organization is about, the overall reason and purpose of why your organization exists, any relevant information about what you've been able to accomplish, any success. You can briefly mention the accomplishments that you've had so far since you started, and going into sharing about who your organization serves, who are your beneficiaries, where are you located, where do you operate, and just really painting that picture of the background of your organization, telling a story, and introducing your organization to the grant reviewer. So the person who is reading your application, helping them get a better understanding about, what your organization does, what you focus on, and a little bit of the background and story of how you got to where you are at this moment, and leading into why your organization would be a good match for the funds that you're asking for. A second common question that you are likely to find on a grant application is, what need or problem is your program hoping to address? Now, this is where you would go into talking about the issue in society or the problem that you are wanting to resolve, or the challenge that your beneficiaries face that you are wanting to help them overcome through providing your services, or the impact, the change that you are wanting to see to resolve that issue or that problem that is existing for your community or for the people that you serve. So this is where you want to be very clear about any data or statistics that verifies and that really speak to the significance of that issue, and really demonstrate why this problem or why this issue even matters. Why is your program so important? Because you're helping them see how relevant or how urgent or big this problem is that needs to be addressed through your programs. So whenever they're asking you about the problem or the need or the benefit even that you are providing to your beneficiaries or to your community, that's where you go into speaking about the significance of your program as it relates to the problem or the issue that you are wanting to address in society or in your community and for the people that you serve. So this third question is kind of a paraphrase. I combined 3 different questions into one question just to kind of give you more of an introduction to a variety of things that you would want to be prepared to answer and speak to. So I'm going to read this question because I don't think I can remember it, but it says, provide a program summary including program objectives, program activities, and program benefits. So essentially, this question that I paraphrased and combined really just shows you that you should be prepared to speak about the goals of your program, the objectives, the measurable objectives that you want to accomplish, the outcomes that you want your beneficiaries to experience, and the benefits that you are going to be providing. So what are the people that you are serving going to receive from your program? What experience are they going to have? Whether it's a positive experience through overcoming a challenge or gaining new knowledge or new access to something they previously didn't have, whether it's them being removed from bad circumstances or negative environments, and now your program is benefiting them by helping them overcome that. And then speaking to the part where it asks you about your measurable objectives. So what, tangible or quantifiable change are you going to bring to the life of the people that you serve? If the beneficiaries or the people in your community come into your program in one circumstance or experiencing a certain level of challenge, how much change or what experience are you going to allow them to have through your program that will be measurable, that you can see this is the way that they have been impacted through your program? So being able to speak about the change and the impact that your program will provide to those who participate or who are involved in your activities. And another thing about this question to pay attention to is that it asks you to summarize your program activities. Now, this is really important because it shows that you should have a plan. You should already know what activities you will complete in your program. This means you have an implementation plan. You know what tasks, what interactions or interventions you will complete, what events you might need to do, and what is required to bring those activities to life. What is going to be required of you to complete those tasks or those interventions and interactions that you plan to do with your beneficiaries to help them receive that benefit or help them experience that level of change you hope to bring into their life. So this question is important because it demonstrates that before you begin writing grants, you should be prepared to really explain and demonstrate that you have a plan for how your program will be implemented. You know exactly what activities you're going to do, including a timeline of when they will be completed and what materials or resources will be required to complete those activities. Not only do you have that implementation plan, you're very clear on your outcomes and the objectives of your program and the benefit or the impact that you want to create in the life of your beneficiary. So, reviewing these questions in advance helps you realize that you should be prepared to speak very specifically about your program so that the reviewer, the person on the other end who is reading your application, can get a good picture of what it is your program is going to do and how their funds are going to be supporting your impact. The fourth common question that you will likely see on a grant application is, how much funding are you requesting and how will the funds be used? Now, this seems very obvious. You definitely have to clarify how much money your program requires and how much money you're asking the grant maker to provide to you. And since you are asking them to make an investment into your program, they're going to want to know specifically how you plan to use that money. And this is why it's so important for you to have a very clear and realistic program budget so that you can ask for the appropriate amount of money to cover, a certain portion or a certain percentage of those total costs for your program. Now, when you ask for money, you don't want to just give blanket statements to say, oh, we're going to use this money to further our impact in our program. But that's not very clear on exactly what the money will be used on. You would want to be prepared to say, we're going to use this money to purchase these specific materials or to cover the cost of these specific activities or these specific events, and give the grant maker the understanding that you've thought through your program well enough to know how much your program will cost, what expenses are attached to your program, and that if they give you the money, you're prepared to allocate that money or allocate those funds correctly and appropriately to expenses that are directly related to your program, that you're going to be able to track those funds and make sure the money is being distributed properly, that you're going to have a budget and the ability to make sure that money is maximized and truly put toward the items and the activities that are most relevant for your program. So always be prepared to speak about your program budget, to attach your program budget, whether it be a Excel spreadsheet or inputting the information into their templates they might give you, and being able to give explanations about why those funds are included and why you're asking for their money. And the fifth question that I'm going to mention in this video is, what data collection and evaluation processes do you have in place? Now, this question is essentially asking you, how do you plan to evaluate the success of your program? How are you going to track the progress of your program to make sure you are actually accomplishing the goals and bringing about the impact or change that you said you wanted to bring? So it's not enough just to say, we're going to produce this change in the life of our beneficiaries. We're going to bring about significant impact and help our beneficiaries overcome a challenge or overcome a problem. You want to be prepared to speak about, how are you going to verify that your program actually accomplished that goal? If the grant maker invests in your program and gives you the funds, they want to make sure that your program is actually going to be effective to accomplish what you said you're going to do. And one way that you can speak to that and help the grant maker know that you are prepared to be effective is by speaking about your evaluation plan. When you have an evaluation plan in place, that means you are more ready to track and monitor the progress of your program as you're implementing it, to make sure that you are actually doing what you said you want to do. And in the event that you're not accomplishing your goals, you're more likely to recognize that in advance so that you can make adjustments to your program or any activities that you do or the strategy that you use to make sure that you are as close as possible to bringing about the change that you said you would accomplish. So make sure that you are prepared to speak about your evaluation plan and that you consider any data collection processes that you need so that when you see this question, you are ready to answer it well. Okay, so one bonus question that I want to mention before I end this video is, please provide a list of any other funding that you are currently receiving. So this question sounds pretty straightforward. You just list, who else is providing you funding. So if you have already received grants, or if you are planning to apply for grants from other grant makers, you should be prepared to list that and let the grant maker know that you are not only relying on their funding. Grant makers typically don't want to be your only source of income, so this question is a way for them to realize or to get a better understanding of where you are financially. Do you have other sources of income coming in? Do you already have other supporters, whether it be sponsorships or grants from other people, or even if you have donations coming in from your individual donors or individual supporters? This is the time for you to really show that you have a robust income strategy, that your fundraising strategy is not only relying on them to give you the grant, but that you have other sources of income. So make sure that you are prepared to speak about any other support that you have coming in, and that you can demonstrate that you have a healthy financial plan and that you have other sources of income coming into your organization. So that concludes today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I do want to let you know of some additional training that you can enroll in if you've watched this video this far and you're realizing that you need, more information or more guidance about the grant writing process so that you can be as prepared as possible. Be sure to click the link down in the description box that will take you to information about our introduction to grant writing training that you can take. It will give you a full overview from start to finish about the grant writing process, how you can find grant opportunities, how you can prepare grant templates to make sure you have already thought through the documentation you need to be successful and prepared to complete grant applications. And you will get a download that will walk you through how to create your own template, and you'll also get a list of many more questions that you can find on grant applications that you can go ahead and begin to answer and get prepared so that when you see these questions on grant applications, you aren't surprised because you've already had the opportunity to think about them, prepare your answers, and you'll be in a better place to complete the process without as much stress because you had that guidance that you needed beforehand. So make sure you click that link to learn more about that and get signed up for that training. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so that anytime we upload more videos for you, you can always be notified and stay up to date on what we're posting. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in our next video.